My family sat around the most expensive table in the restaurant. They ordered lobster. They ordered steak. They ordered bottles of wine I had never even heard of. They laughed and talked and enjoyed every single bite. And then when the bill came, they slid it across the table and looked at me. That was the night I decided I was done. Welcome to Haely Stories. This is the place where you will find real and emotional women's stories that will touch your heart, make you feel seen, and remind you that you are never alone in what you are going through. If that is something you need in your life, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a single story. Now, let me tell you about the night my own family ordered $5,000 worth of food and handed me the bill like it was the most normal thing in the world. My name is Elisa, and I am 30 years old. I grew up in a loud and chaotic family. 4 siblings, 2 parents, a house that was always full of noise and movement, and the particular kind of energy that comes from too many people sharing too little space. On the surface, it looked like warmth. It looked like closeness. It looked like exactly the kind of big family that people who grew up as only children sometimes say they wish they had. But there is a version of closeness that is actually just entanglement. And there is a version of family loyalty that is actually just obligation dressed up in nicer language. And I did not understand the difference until I was sitting at a restaurant table watching my family eat food I could not afford, knowing they expected me to pay for all of it. Let me tell you how I got there. My parents are good people, in the way that some people are good without being particularly thoughtful. They love their children. They would do anything for their children in a crisis. But they also raised 5 kids with a very specific and unspoken hierarchy. And that hierarchy determined everything, from who got the bigger bedroom to who was expected to handle the uncomfortable things that nobody else wanted to deal with. I was the responsible one, the oldest daughter, the one who got a scholarship and put herself through college and landed a good job in financial consulting before she was 25, the one who paid her own rent and never asked for anything, and always picked up the phone on the first ring when someone needed something. That is who I was in my family. The one who could handle it. The one who would figure it out. And for a long time, I told myself that being that person was something to be proud of. The dinner was my brother Derek's idea. Derek is 2 years younger than me and has spent most of his adult life moving between ideas that were going to change everything and situations that needed someone else to step in and help. He is charming and funny and genuinely likable in a way that has always made it easy for people to forgive him things they would not forgive in someone less entertaining. He called me 3 weeks before the dinner and told me he wanted to do something special for the family, a proper sit-down dinner at a nice restaurant, everyone together. He said he had found a place downtown that had just opened, and the reviews were incredible, and he thought it would be a wonderful way for all of us to spend time together. I asked him what the plan was for the bill. He said not to worry about it. He said everyone would contribute. He said it would be fine. I want to be honest about something here. When Derek said not to worry about it, something in me noted that this was exactly the kind of thing Derek said before something became my problem. I noticed that, and I agreed anyway. Because he was my brother. Because family dinners are supposed to be nice things. Because I told myself I was being too suspicious. I made a reservation for 8 people at the restaurant Derek had chosen. I did that because Derek asked me to, and because I was the one who was good at things, like making reservations. The restaurant website showed a menu with prices that made me take a slow breath. But I told myself we would order reasonably. I told myself everyone would be sensible. The restaurant was beautiful. I will give Derek that. Dark wood and low lighting, and the kind of quiet that expensive places cultivate deliberately. White tablecloths, heavy silverware, the sort of menu that arrives without prices on the copy they hand to the guest of honor, which in this case appeared to be everyone at the table except me. My parents were there, Derek and his girlfriend Tanya, my sister Renee and her husband, my youngest brother Cole, who was 24 and had never paid for his own dinner in his life, as far as I could tell. Everyone was dressed nicely. Everyone was in a good mood. My mother hugged me when I arrived and said this was such a wonderful idea. And I noted that she said my wonderful idea, even though it had been Derek's. We sat down. The menus came. And then something happened that I had half expected and fully dreaded. Everyone ordered like they were celebrating a lottery win. My father ordered a ribeye that cost $95. My mother ordered lobster. Derek and Tanya both ordered lobster. Renee ordered a seafood platter. Her husband ordered the Wagyu beef. Cole ordered lobster because Derek had ordered lobster, and Cole has always done whatever Derek does. They ordered appetizers I did not catch the prices of. They ordered a bottle of wine that I saw on the menu for $340. Then another one. I ordered the salmon. It was $42. It was the thing I had decided I could afford. Nobody mentioned the bill. Nobody brought it up. The conversation flowed easily around the table, and the food was genuinely excellent. And my family laughed and talked and had what appeared from the outside to be a wonderful evening. I sat in the middle of it and watched and felt something cold and quiet settling in my stomach. The bill came at the end of the night on a small leather folder that the waiter placed discreetly in the center of the table. Nobody reached for it. I watched the folder sit there for a moment. I watched my father refill his wine glass. I watched Derek say something to Tanya that made her laugh. I watched Cole check his phone. Then my mother looked at me. Then my father looked at me. Then Derek looked at me. And he had a small smile on his face that I recognized immediately because I had been seeing that smile my entire life. It was the smile that said, "This is fine. This is how things work. You know how it is." Renee's husband reached over, opened the folder, looked at the number, and slid it across the table toward me. I looked down at it. $5,200 and some cents. I sat with that number for a moment. Then I looked around the table at my family. My father was looking at the table. My mother had found something interesting to look at across the restaurant. Derek was still smiling that small smile. Cole was back on his phone. And something that had been quietly building in me for a very long time reached a point where it could not go any further. I closed the folder. I picked up my purse. I took out my wallet. I removed my credit card from it. And then I placed the card on the table next to my plate. Not inside the folder. Next to my plate. And I said, clearly and calmly, I am going to pay for my salmon and my water. The rest of the bill, I am not paying. The table went very quiet. My mother looked at me like I had said something in a language she did not recognize. My father said, "Elisa." Just my name. The way parents say your name when they think the weight of it should be enough to change your mind. I said, I did not agree to pay for this dinner. I was told everyone would contribute. I ordered something I could afford. I am happy to pay for that. Derek said, "Come on, it is just dinner." And I looked at my brother, and I said, "Derek, it is $5,200. He did not say anything to that.
I flagged down our waiter. I told him I would like to pay separately for the salmon and the sparkling water. He looked at the table with the careful neutrality of someone who has seen this situation before and handled it with grace. He took my card. He came back with a separate check for $49, including tax. I signed it. I left a tip. I put my card back in my wallet. Then I picked up my purse, pushed my chair back, and said goodnight to my family. And I walked out of that restaurant.
My phone started ringing before I reached my car. Derek first. I did not answer. Then my mother. I did not answer. Then Renee, whose husband had been the one to slide the bill toward me, which I found particularly interesting. I did not answer. I drove home. I made myself a cup of tea. I sat on my couch in the quiet of my own apartment, and I felt something I had not expected to feel. I felt completely calm. Not the brittle kind of calm that is really just suppressed panic. Genuine calm. The kind that comes when you do something that is exactly aligned with what you actually believe, possibly for the first time in a long time. I went to bed. I slept well.
In the morning, there were 11 missed calls and a family group chat that had apparently been very active overnight. I read through it slowly over my morning coffee. My mother had written that she was shocked and embarrassed. Derek had written that he could not believe I had done that in front of everyone. Renee had written something about family sticking together. Cole had sent a single question mark, which was somehow the most honest response of all of them. My father had not written anything in the group chat. He called me directly at 8 a.m.
My father and I have always had a complicated relationship, in the specific way that responsible daughters and proud fathers sometimes do. He loves me. I have never doubted that. But he has also spent my entire life expecting me to be the one who holds things together. And he has never quite examined what that expectation costs the person holding them. He called at 8 a.m., and I answered because I had decided the night before that I was done avoiding things, done managing other people's comfort at the expense of my own clarity. He said, "Elisa, what happened last night was not okay." I said, "I agree, Dad. It was not okay." He paused. I do not think he had expected me to agree. He said, "You embarrassed the family." I said, "Dad, I want to ask you something, and I need you to actually think about it before you answer. When you all looked at me to pay that bill, what was that based on? What made every single person at that table assume that I would cover $5,200 for a dinner I did not plan and did not agree to pay for?" Silence. I said, "I earn a good salary. I know that. But I earn it. I work for it. And somewhere along the way, this family decided that because I am good with money, and because I never complain, and because I always figure things out, that my resources are available to everyone whenever it is convenient. And I am telling you now, clearly and directly, that that is not something I am willing to continue." My father was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That is not how we see it." I said, "Dad, that is exactly how you see it. You just have not had to say it out loud before." He did not respond to that. We ended the call without resolution. But I had said what I needed to say. And saying it out loud to my father, the person whose opinion had mattered most to me my entire life, felt like something shifting permanently into place. Derek called me 2 days later. By that point, the group chat had quieted down, and my mother had sent me a brief message saying she hoped I was okay,
which I chose to read as a small step in the right direction. Derek's call was different from what I expected. I had prepared myself for more of the, "come on, Elisa, it was just dinner" energy. What I got instead was something more complicated.
He started with that. He started with the familiar minimizing. But when I did not respond to it the way I usually did, when I just waited quietly on the other end of the line, something changed in his voice. He said, "Okay, I hear you." I said,
"Do you?" He said, "I did not think it would be that much. I genuinely did not. I thought we would order normal things and split it and it would be fine." I said, "Derek, you saw what everyone ordered. You ordered lobster." He said, "I know." I said, "And when the bill came and it was over $5,000, you looked at me. Everyone looked at me. Nobody said a word. Nobody offered anything. You just looked at me and waited." He was quiet. I said, "I need you to understand something. I am not a safety net. I am your sister. Those are different things." He said, "I know that." I said, "I am not sure you do. I am not sure any of you do. But I need you to start knowing it. Because I am not able to keep being the person this family turns to every time something costs more than anyone wants to admit." Derek did not have a response that fixed anything, but he stayed on the phone. He listened. And at the end of the call, he said he was sorry. Not the kind of sorry that explains itself immediately afterward. Just sorry. It was a start. My mother came to my apartment the following Saturday morning. She brought pastries, which is her language for, "I want things to be okay between us." I let her in, and I made coffee, and we sat at my kitchen table, and for a few minutes, we talked about nothing important, the way families do when they are circling something they need to say. Then she said, "I did not think you would actually leave." I said, "Mom, what did you think would happen?" She said, "I thought you would handle it. You always handle things." I looked at her for a moment. She said it so simply, so completely without any awareness of what those words contained. "You always handle things," as though that were simply a fact about me, like my eye color or my height, a fixed characteristic that required no examination. I said, "Mom, I need to ask you something. When you were sitting at that table and the bill came, did it cross your mind at any point to reach for it yourself?" She looked at her coffee cup. I said, "I am not asking to make you feel bad. I am asking because I genuinely want to understand." She said, "I suppose I assumed you would take care of it." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because you always do." I said, "And did you ever stop to think about what it costs me to always do? Not just the money, the actual weight of always being the one who takes care of things." My mother's eyes filled with tears. She is not a woman who cries easily, so when she does, it means something. She said, "I think I took you for granted, Elisa. I think we all did." It was the most honest thing she had said to me in years, possibly ever. I reached across the table and took her hand. I said, "I know you love me. I have never doubted that. But love and taking someone for granted are not mutually exclusive. And I need things to be different going forward." She nodded. She squeezed my hand. We sat like that for a while, without speaking. It was the best conversation we had ever had. Things did not change overnight.
I want to be honest about that because I think stories that resolve too cleanly do a disservice to the people listening to them. What changed was slower than that and more real. Derek started picking up tabs when we went out, small ones, without making a production of it. He did not announce it. He did not want credit. He just did it. And that quiet consistency meant more to me than any grand gesture would have. My mother started calling me differently. Less with needs and more with genuine interest in how I was doing. Small adjustment, significant one. My father took longer. He is a proud man, and proud men take longer to recalibrate. But he called me one evening, a few weeks after our difficult morning call, and asked if I wanted to have dinner. Just the two of us. Somewhere simple. We went to a diner near his house. He paid without discussion. And over bad coffee and good pie, he said, "I think I put too much on you. I think I always have." I said, "Yeah, Dad, you did."
He nodded. He looked out the window. He said, "I am proud of you. I should say that more."
I said, "That would be nice." We did not fix everything in that diner, but we moved something. And movement, I have learned, is what matters more than resolution. I am 30 years old, and I walked out of a restaurant rather than pay a $5,200 bill that nobody had the decency to discuss with me first. And it was one of the best things I have ever done.
Not because of the money. The money mattered, but it was not really about the money. It was about what the money represented. It was about the ease with which my family looked at me across that table. The complete and comfortable assumption that I would absorb whatever cost landed in front of me because that was simply what Elisa did. The moment I did not do it, the moment I quietly paid for my salmon and walked out, something broke open in my family that had needed to break open for a long time.
I am not the responsible one anymore. Or rather, I am responsible for my own life, my own choices, my own resources, and that is exactly as far as that responsibility extends. I still have dinner with my family. I still show up. I still love them, and they still love me, and none of that changed. What changed is the terms. And changing the terms of something that was not working is not a betrayal. It is not a failure of loyalty. It is not abandonment. It is just finally being honest with them and with yourself. My name is Elisa. I am 30 years old. I paid for my salmon. And that is my story. I spent years being the person my family counted on to handle everything. The night I stopped, I thought I was losing something. I was actually finding myself. Thank you for listening. This is Haely Stories. We will see you in the next one.